once again, I give you the former, all the formal stuff. Joking aside, my name is Dr. Beverly Scott. I live in the Bay. I live in the Bay Area. I've typically been a person who has more lived on the East Coast. So as you get to know Dr. Bev better, you'll hear her talk about all these different places and experiences and stuff. I claim the sector in infrastructure that I claim, okay, is the is the transportation sector. I personally worked in transportation for 40 years. I've worked all over the country, New York, New Jersey, Washington, Houston, Dallas, Sacramento. I was a general manager and CEO in Sacramento for 5 years. And so that is the sector when we talk about these sectors, that is my sector, okay? I also have the opportunity, I serve on a presidential commission. I was appointed by President Obama, where all of the 16 infrastructure sectors sit at the table. I'm already exposing some of the stuff. And so, and most people, when grown people, it doesn't matter. When you say the word infrastructure, people say, oh, yeah, I know what infrastructure is. And honestly, most of us don't. And I'll be very honest, I didn't know what it was until the full range of it, until really about 8 years ago, 8, 9 years ago. Okay. I love all the big things. I fell into transportation. And this was literally over 40 years ago. I was teaching at Tennessee State University, and I had an opportunity to be a fellow. It was supposed to be for 18 months, and that fellowship was in Houston, Texas. And that is how I literally fell into transportation, because when they selected me as one of the 4 people to be this fellow, they asked me what department did I want to work in. And back in those days, I never saw people of color or women that were sitting in the front offices. Now, you're talking about back in 1976, 1977. I did not see people who looked like me that were sitting in front offices or in the C-suite, so to speak, of what they kind of call the hard areas, okay? Transportation, energy, public works, and all that. So when they asked me what department of city government that I want to work in for the 18 months, I told them I either want to be in transportation or sanitation, okay? And so how I began my life, and I say this because remember, hear what I'm saying, and I should tell you how I got there. A former professor of mine sent me an application, and he said across the top of it, thought you might be interested. It was twice as much as I was making teaching. I didn't even know they had such a thing called fellowships that did that, okay? My son at that time was 6 months old, and I said, I think I'm gonna sit down here at this table at night and fill this application out, okay? So this is what I'm talking about, professional, building your personal and professional network, okay? I filled it out. One thing led to another. I was one of the 4 people that they selected. And as I'm saying to you, and I then I picked the transportation department, and I happened to pick the transportation department at a time when they were going for a very big local referendum to create this big, like your LA Metro, okay? It was successful, and there the story begins. In 1978, on the 1st of January 1st, 1978, was when Houston Metro, which is equivalent to your LA Metro, was created. And that's when I started on the formal side of the public transportation system. So anyway, so I say these things because to put pins in them, if it was a professor, okay, that had been my head of my department, he was in Texas. He had moved to Texas, and he thought about me, and he sent me, and you have to put stamps and envelopes and stuff, and he sent me that little application, and I filled that application out, and I can tell you now that was over 40 years ago. Okay, so these relationships that you build and you develop and all of that will last. You can have them to where they can help to last a lifetime. Okay. So anyway, so now I fast forward. So anyway, so here is so I started, and I've been in it 40 years. Like I say, I've worked 9 places. I've run 4 systems. I ran the system in Boston. I ran the system in Atlanta. I ran the system in Sacramento, and I ran the system in which is the other one. Which ones did I name? Boston. Oh, did I say Rhode Island? And Rhode Island, which is a statewide. Okay. Now, People always say, oh, you've been around. I said, yes, but you should ask me, why have I stayed in transportation? That's the question. And I tell people, I say, I love all of the big things that move. I love the trains. I love the buses. I love the boats. I love the structures. I like them all. Elevators, escalators, all of that. I said, but the reason that I have stayed in this for 40 years is because I have been blessed and privileged to be in the business of community building. And that, I submit to you, is at the heart and soul of Aya. Every single one. So what does that mean? That means that I've been able to, working with my compadres, have been able to be the one that helped to make the decision. Where was that rail line going to go? Where was that bus going to go? Who was going to have a street light? Where was going to wind up being the tree? Who was going to wind up having a bike path? I tell people, I said, these are all the decisions. These are all the decisions that are being made by the infrastructure sectors. Everything that we care about, clean water, energy, climate, affordable housing. So you're getting Dr. B in a big, this is it. Every public health, financial services, every one of those areas are critical infrastructure sectors. They are the things that shape our personal lives, our households, our communities, and society. Mm-hmm. And so when you see this big, so so what we do in Aya is one, try to, because most people don't understand this, is to get you excited about these careers, because it's really giving you the tools, okay, to help start unlocking some of these things, okay? And then the motivation to say, gee, you know what? I can be the one that helps to write that script the way I think it should be written, to wind up helping to help my community, to help society. So that, I get very passionate about it, because at the end of the day, it really is about community building. Now, infrastructure is a business. You can either get good consequences out of it, or you can get bad. And it really depends upon the values and who's behind and who's helping to make those decisions, okay? And every one of the critical infrastructure sectors, hear me, fact, every one of them have real issues and have continued to have issues in terms of not having the kind of representativeness that they should have of people of color and women, okay? So what we do is that Aya is an awareness program. Take me back to the beginning, Isaiah, so I can give all the appropriate. It's an awareness program. I said I knew about the transportation sector before I got the opportunity to sit with the water sector and the energy sector and all these other sectors. And I was closing my eyes. I said, oh my God, these people are saying the same thing. They don't know where the future workforce is going to come from, have a real problem in terms of being able to attract your generation to wanting to be into the pro. It's not that you feel badly about the infrastructure sectors, and some people kind of like them, but most folks don't really understand what all takes place in the infrastructure sector. So every one of them has the issue of where is the next crew, and they got bunches of jobs. And these jobs are good jobs, as well as not just jobs. I want you to think about careers and future business opportunities, because hopefully there will be those of you who are here that will think about, oh, and I'd love to be able to set a business up that would be around the work that takes place in these infrastructure sectors, okay? And then there may be some of you who say, you know what, Doc, we love you, but that's not the route I want to take. I'm not interested in doing infrastructure. I really am not. I heard you. I'm really excited about everything you said, but that's not where I'm going. That doesn't matter. Because what we're saying is that infrastructure shapes your life. And so whether or not you ever decide to have a job or do a business in the infrastructure sector, we want you to understand. So we're about building your civic muscle. We want you to understand how these decisions are important, and that we want you to be engaged with them as a citizen, as you take on the gauntlet to do life. We want you to appreciate the fact that these sectors are making decisions that are impacting you, your family, your neighborhood, your community, this your state, and this world, and that you want to be engaged. I tell people life is not a spectator sport. You get out of it about what you put into it. And believe me, it's going to play whether you play it or not. And so what we try to do at AYA as well is to help equip you with the thinking about how, we ask questions. Well, who runs these systems? How do they get appointed? What can I, how do I kind of look at how I could, how I can get engaged and involved and have an impact? So that's all. If these programs would not be possible. Come on, if you go, Isaiah, without people who sponsored them, okay? And so you will find, so I want to make and we have a lot of contributors. We try to make sure that we bring the folks to the table, the organizations to the table that are helping to shape things nationally, but very importantly, who are the people that are in your backyard? The companies, the employers, the organizations, the associations that are in your local region, your state. Because it's no sense in you, yes, I can tell you all about Chicago and I can tell you about DC, and that's nice at one level, but those are not the people that are going to be the ones that for the most part would be employing you. And so the counterparts for those in the Inland Empire, in the state, and in Southern California are and these are some of them, okay? Amalgamated Transit Union, that is the largest union that represents transportation in North America, okay? And so they need to be in the room. California High-Speed Rail, that is coming directly your way, coming into that US Link project down in LA Union Station. The folks from California High-Speed Rail will be coming to talk to you. HDR is and they're up tomorrow night. HDR has locations. They're one of the largest engineering, architectural, environmental firms in the world. They have 200 locations all over the world, but they have a very active Inland Empire office. And it is the people from the Inland Empire office, along with 3 other major firms, okay, that will be coming who are sponsoring this program. They are actually the ones who are funding a paid internship for next year that starts in February. Just like you see Isaiah and Sitlali here, there will at a minimum be two paid AYA internships that will wind up being for students who are eligible, which means you're going to have to participate. There's a lot, I don't want to overdo it, but there's a lot of stuff that there's for you to read. But for those who choose, and this is all voluntary, for those who choose to submit the application, submit the video, submit their information on December 14th, there will literally be 2 paid internships. That's up to 20 hours a month. We pay those will be paid, and they'll be at $15 an hour, and that will start. The selections will be made by February because you'll need to be a student in the SBDC program in February, and that will go through until September 1st of the next year. Okay, and so anyway, so there's a lot of different pieces that are going on, but HDR is the one that makes sure that those internships are paid for. Latinos in Transit, we have a number of associations that are in these sectors, and they have scholarships, and they have grant programs, and they have internships, and they have people who look like us, okay, that are saying the same thing we're saying. We need to see more of us in these sectors. So Latinos in Transit is one, okay. We just going through them. Omni Trains. Omni Trains is going to be making a presentation because they are what we would say in the public transportation business, they are your local operator, biggest one. So, and they also have, and in fact, when they come to speak, they're going to actually have 3 of the current student interns that they have that will in fact be, that are there. They're not a part of this program, but that's one of the things we're trying to unlock for you, is to be able to say, here are companies that are in your area. This is what they do. These are the programs that they have. These are the opportunities that they have that can be available for you. You just need to know that the opportunities exist, okay? So that's what we kind of consider ourselves, a little bit of a can opener, okay? And so Omni Trains will be talking. Southern California Edison. Southern California Edison got 14,000 people. They're one of the major employers, the most major employers throughout Southern California. They are all over this program. And one of the reasons you're going to be hearing about a lot about electrification, which is absolutely related to every climate change goal that we have. The transportation sector is the biggest emitter of emissions. And until we change the composition of how we travel, if you will, okay, the fuels and stuff we use, you can put as many goals out there as you want until you flip the transport sector. And that's every aspect of it, the cars, the buses, the trains, everything. Until we get a different fuel source other than petroleum, you can be talking all you want, it won't happen, okay? And so you're gonna hear a lot of these speakers that are going, because climate and preservation of this world we have is so critical, like we won't be here, that are going to be talking about zero emissions vehicles. They're going to be talking about electrification. They're going to be talking about renewables. They're going to be talking about the grid, all new job opportunities. Okay, so Southern California Edison is here. Let's go over to, I can't see, well, anyway, after you, American Public Transportation Association. After they represent all the transits, they're an association that has all the transits across the country. Well, they have scholarship programs, okay? And some of them, they're not shabby. I'm talking about $10,000 on some of them for a year. And if once you get into the program, as long as you maintain your grade average and everything, you got to compete for it, okay? But once you'll get it throughout, you can retain those things throughout the period until you wind up getting your degree. But once again, you have to know, you'll be hearing from people from the American Public Transportation Association, and they are one of the ones who actually help to fund the program. Caltrans, our highway department, okay, our highway department, they're the ones that throughout the state, well, District 8 is the district, once again, we bring it local, which is the district that services the Inland Empire. They are specifically going to be talking about their core types of jobs that they have. And we try to talk about jobs realistically in careers. We say these are the kinds of positions, because all of them got all kinds of positions. These are the kinds of positions that you could realistically think that you could apply for and just be out of high school. Now there's some of those, there are some, okay, but that's not the bulk of them. Then we have people, when they talk, we say, well, look, there are some positions, and a lot of them, and this is where the bulk of them are, okay, is that you have to have more than a college, you have to have more than a high, that's where having the community college degree, the associate's degrees, the technical institutes, the apprenticeship programs, the job readiness programs, that's where we kind of call that K to 14 plus. And that is absolutely where the community college, very geared in career technical education. And that's why at IA, we pick Inland Empire. I live in the Bay, but when I looked around the state and I said, where is the best place for this program to have a home in California? The one that stuck out with me was the Inland Empire, and I will give it to your professors. I met them at a program a year ago, and I had never seen people that were as passionate about having an understanding of the appreciation of the value of career technical education. It was just off the chain. So anyway, so that's how we all got together. This all started out at a program that Tesla was at, okay? And so it was about electrification, okay? And that's where I had the opportunity to meet one of your senior vice presidents. And that's where I guess our love affair began. International Association of Machinists and Auto Workers, all that stuff that's taking place in terms of logistics and freight in a port, material, warehousing, inventory, all of that. International Association of Machinists, and they are at airports, they're everything. They're 600,000 strong, okay, very strong in this area. They will be coming in. LA Metro wanted to be in the room, okay. LA Metro said, well, Omni Trains is the local operator. We grant you, with all due respect. Omni Trains this is the Omni Trans service area, but you know what? Inland Empire is also an employment area. It's a service area for us too, and it's a catchment area. So they wanted to talk because their thing was, and this is great because now that we're coming into another phase of the pandemic, let's call it that. Their board released positions for hire. And so one of the reasons when we were talking, they said, oh God, we want to come. We'll grant you, we're not Omni Trans and we're not Metrolink, because Metrolink is going to come too. That's your commuter rail service. They're going to try to explain to you how it kind of all comes together. But LA Metro wanted to be in the room because they are very interested in your being interested in them as an employer. And need I say, they are the third largest behind New York and Chicago. LA Metro is the third largest public transportation organization in the country. And they are also one of your most major employers in the Southern California region. So we're not trying to come in here and play. I don't promise chickens in every pot, but we have been very intentional about who we wanted to be able to be in the room, because that then is a value. So then when they come in and they talk, they're going to talk about, this is what you could do and think about in terms of high school. This is what you think about. And most of the positions that are really the positions that are in these sectors, getting that community college degree plus, now we don't want you to stop there. We want you to get every degree. We want you to get education, as much education, knowledge, and training through a lifetime. We kind of call it K to grade, okay? But when you're really looking at what can you use, what's that something that you can use that you know that when you walk in that door, this is going to open up more, the maximum number of opportunities for you to be able to look at what that career would be. Absolutely, I would be being disingenuous with you if I did not tell you that really takes you to take that next distance. Definitely at least get that additional two to 3 years under you, and then continue along your, I call it putting think of your life as a toolkit, okay, of experiences, exposures, and education, and you will be doing it for your entire life. Certainly your generation will. No inoculation for life. Everything with the way technology and everything is changing, you're going to constantly be wanting to invest in yourself and invest in continuous learning, okay? So then Metrolink is going to come, and Metrolink has just opened that new facility. They are your commuter rail operator, and they are also one of the ones who's a particular sponsor of this, the youth packs that you'll hear us talk about. And then Isaiah's going to take the stuff out, the youth packs, the goodie bags, okay? That all came from, that was all through the generous Metrolink. But they're really excited. They're just opening up this new maintenance facilities in here, and they've got a station that comes right through. They are what we would call your commuter rail operator, okay? And so the day that they come, it's gonna be both them and LA Metro talking together. Siemens Mobility. Siemens Mobility is another global firm, and they're not running it per se. They're the ones who think big mobility. How do you pull it all together? But I can tell you the other thing is they got a manufacturing facility for vehicles that's up in Sacramento, okay? And so they're global. They're going to tell you about a lot on technology, a lot of how smart infrastructure comes together, all the different life cycle of equipment. How do you get the roads piece to talk to the transit piece to talk to the tech piece over here? How does all that come together? And so that they're that kind of a think group, if you will, okay, in do group. But at the same time, they got a lot of skin in the game because they're literally, in fact, when I was general manager of Sacramento, I had vehicles that were being manufactured for us that were outside of the plant. that were in the plant that they had in the old. They did a reuse of the old Army facility that was up there. And then, so you got Siemens. The Transportation Learning Center is a national organization, but they are the ones who really do a lot of the curriculum development, national standards. That in terms of, you know, we don't want to be exposing you to stuff that's just yah. Okay, we're trying to bring the folks who are really going, who know what they're talking about, who will be able to give you, like, this is the kind of stuff that you really need to understand. And this is the kind of information, knowledge that really will help you to be in a better position to be able to be competitive for positions. And then the Women's Transportation Seminar is, and there's one group that's not on here that is also an update that we'll need to do, Isaiah Compton, okay? So I give you two organizations there. The Conference of Minority Transportation Officials is COMTO. They've been around for 50 years. They have a national office, but they also have a Southern California chapter, both their national and this is another group that does scholarship programs and all of that. And they have a Southern California chapter that is anchored out of, well, actually this entire region, but out of LA. And then you have the Women's Transportation Seminar. They'll speak twice. They're going to be there tomorrow, because just as we were going through what they were talking about this evening, they said, oh my God, this was perfect timing, because the Women's Transportation Seminar is a women's group, okay? And they do scholarships. And guess what? Their scholarships are due in October, okay? You know what I'm saying? So they were saying, oh, this is the perfect time for us to be able to say a little bit about the programs that we have, the scholarship program that we have here with our chapter at the Inland Empire. So all along the way, it's not perfect. I mean, but we are very, very intentional about being able to try to bring you content, as well as trying to bring you touch points, relationships that hopefully you will be building on, and some of them you will honestly, individuals as well as organizations, that you will hopefully keep for a lifetime. Okay. So now those are, and these are embedded in all this. There's more partners, but anyway, those are some of the big ones you're going to be hearing from. Just to give you a sense, we do virtual, we do this gives you a sense of what we look like when we're not in a pandemic. Okay, so when we're not in the pandemic, we all over the place. You be in shops and yards and overlooking at clean energy being changed, trash being changed into clean energy, and all that, to give you excitement. And a lot of this was the DC class, okay, but which predated the pandemic. Okay, all right, take us to the next one. Now I would like to turn it over, and so you can welcome your team to the team to make their introductions. Okay. First, okay, we want to, for San Bernardino Valley College, we are absolutely honored. Now, there are many more people that have been in, but Omar Castro, okay, Mr. Omar, Professor Omar is our point of contact. He is our point person for this program, and honestly, he's going to be supporting us for all of the sessions that we have, and we're doing these sessions are going to be on, for the most part, they're Thursdays, active, live, so to speak. They're Thursdays from 3 until 4:50, okay? Now, it is also our intention, as we get this worked out, to be able to tape them, okay? We're recording, and so that they will also be able to be listened to, okay? So that would be the asynchronous. And then the other part that we're looking to do is some of the community-based organizations have said as well that they would love to be able to kind of audit the program, so they know more about how all this works together. And so we just said, Lord, we would be delighted. And I cannot thank the college enough for wanting this kind of information to be have as broad a reach as possible. Okay, so Professor Castro is our point person, and then I have to say, our administrator extraordinaire, okay, is Miss Faye Epps, okay, and she is wonderful, and then of course Dean Quach. I just can't. She's been just an angel. and then Kimberly Miller, okay, who in her team we're also hoping that we will be able to get participation from some of the high school, a little bit at some of the high school level, okay, because most of the time we do a lot of programming as well at the high school level. So now I will turn this over to two of our alums, okay. Isaiah is you're going to see me a lot, but Isaiah is the program coordinator for the Inland Empire for our program this year, and he is joined by his partner in crime, Sitlali Trujillo, okay, and they'll tell you some about themselves, okay. So, okay, and you can tell, well, Isaiah, well, we won't even talk about it. You saw how much hair he had. This was just last year, and he went bald, and now you see where he is today. Okay, take it away, I. Okay.
All right. What's up, everybody? Thank you, Doc Scott, for the very, very generous intro. I'm currently sipping on an iced matcha tea latte from Starbucks. So, that's the vibe that I'm on right now. I'm 22 years old. I just graduated from the University of Illinois at Chicago back in May with an English degree. I know you're probably thinking, he has an English degree. Why is he out here in an infrastructure career awareness program? And, that's a very, very valid question. If I'm being I'm always honest. Let me be honest with you guys. If I'm being 100% blunt, last year I had no idea what infrastructure was. And if I'm being completely honest, I didn't think that I would care about infrastructure because, we always just hear the word infrastructure. You've probably heard it in the past hour more than you've heard it this entire year. And the thing is, we always stay hearing this word, but we don't really know what it means. And what exactly the word infrastructure entails, like the umbrella of careers it can go into. That was me last year. And I applied for this internship with Aya because, it was my junior year at college. I hadn't had any internships. I had to build my resume. I had to get my career, get my resume all clean and stuff. So, I applied, I shot my shot with Aya, and here I am now, a year and a half into this organization, partnered with them, caring way more about infrastructure than I ever have. I've learned way more than I expected I would. I care way more than I expected I would. And just seeing people's lives change through infrastructure, whether it's careers or community building. We're going to go more in depth into that later. But especially as a young person, I know how easy it is to feel like small and insignificant in the world because, we're only young people. Old people don't really listen to us. They don't really care about what we have to say. But this industry, they're in need of young people. And this is like a direct way where you can literally see the change happen within your community. So, shout out Aya, shout out all you guys, for all you guys who are with Professor Castor right now, looking at us, looking at me rep the Aya shirt, the reimagined normal. We'll go more in depth into that later. But, we're all about just swag vibes and just making sure that the community around us is just taken care of. Because, infrastructure is deeper than being able to coordinate how trains move or how buses and all that stuff kind of work. It's deeper than being a transportation manager. It's deeper than being in the water sector or any of the other sectors of infrastructure that we'll go into. But at its core, it just comes down to helping people and wanting to build meaningful change in the world and in the community. So, if you care about that, if you care about bettering the people around you and the environment around you, then, infrastructure is a very, very real and awesome career to go down. And like I said, like Dr. Scott said, she fell into infrastructure. She didn't see it coming. I fell into infrastructure. I didn't see it coming. So who knows? Maybe it could be you guys, because I was sitting where you guys were just a year ago, just as just a random kid, just looking at stuff like this, talking about, oh, who are these people talking about infrastructure? But, it goes way deeper than that. You have no idea how many people you directly and indirectly impact on a daily basis. So, just keep all that stuff in mind as we go through this program and this program overview. Shout out infrastructure. And, my name's Isaiah once again, and I'll pass it on to Sitlali. So thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, you kill me every time. But you keep me hyped up. You keep me on my toes. So, but yeah, I'm Sitlali. I'm Isaiah's sidekick. And I joined Aya a year ago as well, same time as Isaiah. And I'm a biochemistry major. I'm a senior at UIC. I do a lot of work around water infrastructure and just infrastructure in general surrounding water, like waterfronts, like the Chicago River. And yeah, when I first joined Aya as well, I didn't really know what infrastructure really was, or why it was important, how it shapes communities, but integrating my research with Aya and just being able to like learn about all these careers and just the importance of infrastructure. I just think it's like the biggest thing that I like love learning about, because it really does help shape lives. It helps drive outcomes. And I connected it back to my research because like the water infrastructure in Chicago isn't as great. It affects communities by like flooding communities, and then just like lack of riverfront access because of where all this infrastructure is placed. It's just very important in having a say. And yeah, like Isaiah said, like, you know, when you're a kid or like, you know, just starting your career, you really don't know what to do or what to start with or how to really get involved. And Aya is just like a really important organization, I think. Thank you, Bev, for like, you know, always, you know, doing what you want to do and just really sticking through it and trying to show us like how important this is. And yeah, there is a lot of lack of representation, you know, when I first started doing all this work, and even now, there's no really like a Latin voice, there's no bilingual research, there's no bilingual interpretation, you know, people get left behind. And it's very important that we include like these voices when it comes to, you know, policy or just placing things in your community, like, yeah, like a bus stop or like a light, a street sign, even up to that. How many times the bus comes to your community? How does that affect you going to like your job? How does that limit you? You know, these are all things that are just very important. And yeah, the electricity comes into play. And then you have like the environment now. You know, there's a very big environmental movement coming. And, you know, all these organizations that we work with really take into consideration these things. So yeah, just, I love Aya. It's so amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And then obviously, you guys already know Prof. Castro. You guys see him posted up with the shirt. You know, this is actually very, very unintentional. We did not plan for all of us to be matching like the same color clothes. Like we got the maroon primrose vibes going on. So, you know, you see him with his award as well. So, you know, that was very, very unintentional, but, you know, I'll take credit for it. So, yeah, that was just a very, very quick intro from all of us. Thank you, Dr. Scott, for all that. And we will pass it back to you. And also shout out once again, Omar, for setting up all this Zoom stuff and being, like Dr. Scott said, being the point of contact for all this. Because, you know, we have no idea what we're doing out here. But, you know, what through him, he's like the bridge between us and you guys. So, you know, thank you to Omar. I know you're out there in the audience listening to us, smiling, probably laughing in embarrassment. But, you know, without you, we wouldn't be here. So, you know, without you, we wouldn't be here. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to be coming back here. Let's go. So this is the mission of Aya, is motivating today's youth to become tomorrow your leaders, the skilled workforce, the innovators, the entrepreneurs. We want you to bring your game. And then you see, we say community builders. That's what this is about. You get, when you pick this stuff up, it's a lifetime of community building. Okay. And I often tell you, I said, look, it's one thing to know how to block. Okay. So you get upset about something and you go and and I'm not taking anything away from, you know, protesting and all that. So, you know, I did it too. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I tell people I don't have to talk about what the riots were like. I lived in them. We were on national television. I said, so I've been there, done that. Okay. And I take nothing away from it. I said, but it's one thing to know how to block. I say it's another to know how to advance. You need to know how to advance. And advancing means you need to be able to be informed. And there's an element of advancing where you need to be in the room and at the table. Okay. So we need to so in order to make this beloved community, which you'll hear us talk a lot about, my beloved community, like Dr. King and them talked about, that means that we have to be all engaged. This is lifetime work. And we need to all be engaged at every level. Okay. And so this just gives you some sense of it. I mean, you know, there are many more workers even than this, but that there are, when I tell you the vacancy rates that are in these positions, the growth, you can hear it when you turn the news on, and it's happening this time. when you turn the news on, everything you turning, just like you're hearing about infrastructure, the infrastructure bill, the Biden infrastructure bill, will it be $3 trillion? Will it be $2 trillion? Will it be $1.8 trillion? Part of the recovery is going to be a massive, long overdue investment in U.S. infrastructure. That is going to be driving jobs and business opportunities, okay, by the millions, okay? And so I'm just saying, we need to get equipped. This is not talking about what could, gonna, whatever should. It is going to happen. And so
also shameless plug for the record, Dr. Scott was actually just talking about this in a New York Times article earlier this past week. So, you know, it's starting to be on the radar now. Before it was overlooked, but you know, it's on New York Times level now, and Dr. Scott's out there. So, you know, it's on the come up. We're putting it on the map slowly but surely.
Yeah. So this is like really it couldn't even be more timely that and people are finally getting it. You just can't invest in the structure. We have to make the investments in the people. Okay, you know what I'm saying? And so that's part of what we're trying to say is that, yeah, we'll talk about investing in the bridge or the vehicle, the whatever, but who's the one that's got to be the one it's always got to be, we have to make the investment in people readiness be important. So why and what infrastructure? It's the backbone of our daily lives. And now we've told you all the, like we usually do this and have like a poll and you don't know all these things, but you kind of know that there's a lot of infrastructure that you wouldn't have thought was infrastructure, but it really is the backbone of our daily lives. One of the things we stress and why it's so important too, is that many of the decisions that are made in infrastructure, they're generational. Mm-hmm. When you go and put a highway in, that's not going away anytime soon. When you go and put a rail, so we tell people that which you'll hear people talking about the life cycle of something. Not all of them, but many of the biggest things, your water system, these are big decisions, okay? They're going to impact you, your family, your kids' kids. And so really being like informed on those, okay? And a part of making it is important. The thing about the underrepresentation of people of color and women across the board, these are real opportunities for community building. And I keep saying this whole thing in terms of entrepreneurism, okay? There will, as this whole economy begins to shift to certainly away from petroleum to other things, there are going to be whole new businesses, whole new systems that are going to be developed. And, you don't have to know how to every nit and tick, but anything that you're going to be successful in, you need to know enough about it so that you can be informed. And so if you think of nothing else, but as much information as you can give yourself about whether you ever choose to get a degree in a certain something, but as much information as you can get opens up your eyes as to what are the opportunities. And then making a difference, okay? And what we say is that young people, we respect the voice of young people. I tell young people all the time, I say, you've been living in your community for all your life, okay? We usually won't have any much younger than about 11th grade. Now we want to get into middle schools and we also want to get into the elementary schools with beginning program. But for the most part, we're around 11th, 12th in college, okay? And I say, look, you've been living in your community all your life. You know where the pinch points are. You know your community and what is needed and what are the challenges better than I ever will. Okay, you know what I'm saying? And so we call that your learned experience in your voice. And our team that have been interns with us this past year took on the challenge for us with Aya, saying, where should Aya be in the future? And then I'm gonna let Sid Lolly, and then they came up with 3 things that they felt, which is where your reimagining campaign comes from, was out of the thinking, if you will, of folks who are Aya alum as to what we needed to be doing. So your voice is important. And now here's the secret. There literally are defined by a presidential policy directive that goes back about 30 years. What are the nation's critical infrastructure sectors? And the way they came up with this is said, look, if you don't have, the basic thing is, these are the sectors that drive this world we live in here. And if you don't have them, or if they're out of kilter, they have an impact in terms of quality of life, health, and our security, our national security. Bottom line, okay? And so you start looking at them, you say, gee, I never knew those things were considered to be infrastructure. Absolutely. So we do a lot of focus in the IA program initially on what are considered to be the lifeline sectors. We'll talk about the other ones, and we want you to be aware of the other ones. But you can only do so much. You have to, so we focus on the lifeline sectors, and we're going to be placing particular emphasis in this program on the transport sector, the energy sector, and also a smattering of what we call critical manufacturing, because robotics, artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles, all this, what we call the method and means of how work will take place, is changing so dramatically that that has to come into it. We'll talk some about what Sitlali gonna always make sure we say something about water. We're gonna be talking a little bit, we're gonna talk about water now, because water is there's a whole big thing, is that it's a human right. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So we're gonna be talking a lot about water, and communications for us and that's another of the lifeline sectors. And the biggest thing on the for us on communications right now, and we saw it up front, is 100% broadband, affordable, accessible, safe, and secure for every family in this country. Okay, without that broadband, so that is the stomp that we're on in terms of communication. Let's stop talking about the digital divide and let's do something about it. So you see all kinds of areas you might not have thought before. Health and public, people typically wouldn't have thought about health. They've been thinking about health being one since the pandemic. But health, the agriculture, the food, dams, emergency services, financial services. Okay, if your financial service systems go down, guess what? Has that not impacted your national security and all that? So it is the thinking of infrastructure, and what it's defined at is much broader than what people normally would tag it for. And so information technology. Now, here's my beloved community. This is part of our whole thing of it's about community building. So I kept thinking, I said, well, we're going to be giving people this awareness program, and we want to try to stuff as much as we can, but how do we really try to make it real? And you'll know more about I as you go along, but this is the late Dr. Juanita Jones Abernathy. I was very honored to have had her on my board of directors for 5 years in Atlanta. She was the last living of the four that actually were the beginners of the modern civil rights era. Her husband was the late Reverend Abernathy. Dr. King, Reverend Abernathy were the Montgomery bus boycott, the whole 9 yards, and Miss A was right there with Coretta Scott King, and we were honored to have her as one of our founding board members. And she literally was the one who approved, the year that she passed. It's been going on 2 years ago. We had just been at a strategic planning session. I told her, I said, Miss A, I got this came up with this wonderful idea. We were talking to these people at Harvard about what kind of projects could we have folks work on, our youth work on, that would help to make it real, okay? And said, well, my beloved community. Dr. King did not make those words up, but he certainly used them throughout his lifetime. And that was all about not trying to say like everything is, people have differences of opinion, but we're a world that everybody every boat can be lifted, that everybody can have an opportunity to be able to go up that hill. Not one where you got the upstairs and you got the downstairs and neither the twain shall meet, that we have respect for each other, that we value each other. That's all that this is, it's a place where you look in the mirror and you say, I want to be a part of this, and this is a part of this is me. That's all about what my beloved community is, okay? And so anyway, so what we do is when you hear us talk about, we said, well, we want young people to bring their own voice. Once they've learned about this, we want them to bring their own voice to, what do you think about infrastructure? What are the things that go on? What have you experienced? Okay, so we have a preparation. Part of us is always 3 to 5 minutes that we ask the young people in our program after they've kind of gotten enough in it to say, look, will you tell us your take on infrastructure? And then what do you think that you're going to do moving forward? And that's your video, okay? In your words, you use your own phone or your computer, okay? And not, that's part of what we call the, and to do that, you can do all kinds of things. I mean, when it wasn't a pandemic, young people were out there, they were taking pictures and interviewing people and all that kind of stuff like that as part of their videos. But it's absolutely a homemade, we don't want something professionally, whatever produced, but we're looking for your voice and your thought and respecting what your experience has been. What our team did this past year, they said, Doc, this is where we tell you we think we should be focused as Iowa. And this was the pandemic is raging. And they came in December, they said, look, we're gonna tell you what it is. They say, everybody keep talking about normal. They wanna get normal. Well, say, what kind of normal are we talking about? What kind of normal are we talking about? We talking about the normal to get back to normal, the normal that had a digital divide, the normal where more people of color are dying from COVID, a normal where people have a normal where you got people on top of the hill and people that can't even are homeless underneath. What kind of normal are we trying to return to? So they said to me, they said, look, checkpoint, what we want, we the young people, we telling you we want to get to a just normal. So that's what so when we talk about normal at IF for the next whatever, we're going to be saying we want a just normal. And let us tell you what a just normal is. So I said, well, what you going to say when people ask you about what is a just normal? They say, well, we're going to start telling them what is not. It's not a digital divide. It's not people homeless. It's not what I say, hey, so that was number one. We want a just normal. They said the other part about it is that youth voice. Youth voice. We are the future. We don't want to see any more plans being developed on the 2030 plan, the 2050 plan, the 2040 plan, where youth are not at the table by right. Mm-hmm. By right. Okay, not because somebody thought it was a nice thing to do. So now these are very big things that y'all taking on. Okay, and I'm saying they said, no, youth voice is critical. Okay, so that's the other one. And then they said the other thing we should be doing is, as we're having these awareness classes and everything, is to ask young people, let's reimagine what normal would look like with infrastructure. Well, what I think I would want to see, okay? And that's where we came up with this whole thing of reimagining normal. And what would what would you want to see differently in terms of any aspect of the infrastructure? Okay, and I'm saying, and why would you want to see it? And what value do you think it would bring? And that is at the heart when we talk about your reimagining normal project. That is what we're asking for. It is volunteer. Your 3 to 5 minutes of your own video in your words that says, this is what I think I'd like to see. Okay, and why? Okay, and so with that, this one always makes me get chills. Okay, this hails back to Dr. King because we have a lot of symbol, and I want to make this point.
Is the most important.
When people talk about, hold on, Isaiah, when people talk about what youth can do, and that was part of the thing of our Africa program that we had this summer, is that young people across the globe have usually been at the vanguard of change, transformative change. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, and you'll get an opportunity probably to meet because one of the Abernathy children lives in the Southern California region, Donzello. And they reminded us that at the time of the Montgomery bus boycott, the beginning of the modern civil rights movement here, Dr. King was 26 years old and their father was 29. And need I say more? So so with that, I'm going to, I said to myself, I said, oh my God, I never realized that back before when all this was going on, the Rosa Parks, all of that, it didn't occur to me. They were 26 and 29 years old. Now we still got so much work to do. Mm-hmm. But look at what they were able, and think about it. We had the Children's Crusade. We had all of the kids that were at the lunch counters. We had the Black Panther Party. We had the coordinating, all of that stuff. And you can go from country to country to country to see the impact that young people have had in terms of advancing transformative change. And so I say, let it go, Isaiah. What can you do?
Crucial period of your lives, for what you do now and what you decide now at this age may well determine which way your life shall go. And the question is whether you have a proper, a solid, and a sound blueprint. And I want to suggest some of the things that should be in your life's blueprint. Number one in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance. Secondly, in your life's blueprint, you must have, as a basic principle, the determination to achieve excellence in your various fields of endeavor. You're going to be deciding as the days and the years unfold what you will do in life, what your life's work will be. Once you discover what it will be, set out to do it, and to do it well. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be the sun, be a star. For it isn't by size that you win or you fail. Be the best of whatever you are. And finally, in your life's blueprint must be a commitment to the eternal principles of beauty, love, and justice. Well, life for none of us has been a crystal stair, but we must keep moving. We must keep going. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl, but by all means, keep moving.
That was a speech that he gave at a high school in Philadelphia 6 months before he was assassinated. And the words.
It's timeless.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's our challenge, team. And we can do this. So I know it just makes me every time. But okay, so now Isaiah, I'd like you to talk. You and Sid to talk a little bit about the goodie bag, and I know we're running a little bit over the goodie bag and the My Beloved Community project, okay, and then we'll be quiet, and if there's a way, if you can ask any questions, we'd be delighted. And we just are so thrilled that you're here. Please tell. We want to create you to be ambassadors for the program, okay? And we promise you that it will be well worth.
All right, for sure. So yeah, we know we're a bit over time, so we'll get to this as quick as possible. But long story short, what we want all the students to do is, after going through a minimum of 5 of the programs throughout these next couple of weeks, what we want you guys to do is, as you guys continue to learn about the infrastructure industry, we want you to reflect on how much infrastructure is around you, because, we don't always think about that, as well as what you can do to bring change to the infrastructure world around you, and what you can do to bring change to the community around you by recognizing the infrastructure situation around you. And, the phrase reimagine normal. What do you guys want to see in the future in regards to the systems that are currently set in the city or wherever you guys live at? I'll talk a little bit about the goodie bag. It's about valued around like $100 worth of stuff. But if you guys do attend a minimum of 5 classes and submit a video talking a bit about what you guys want to see to come from your community, all the guidelines for that internship and the application are all on the IA website, as well as the Mesa SBVC website underneath the IA program. But, these are just a few items that are in it. You get like a huge tripod. This is, tripods are self-explanatory, especially for your phone. If you're trying to create films and stuff, the IA students last year, they got these and they used them to create their video projects. It comes with a ring light as well. You know, everyone loves ring lights, especially when you're trying to get good selfies. You guys have probably seen them from the Kardashians and every other celebrity on Instagram. So, you know, if you're trying to get your selfies right, you know, it's super saturated and bright here. But, you know, I've admittedly used this on my phone, like outside of the eye of stuff. So, you know, it's just like right there, boom, post it on Instagram. I just posted on my Instagram story earlier today using this ring light. So, you know, that's just another one. It also comes with a microphone that it's a universal cardioid. It connects with your phone or computer. So whenever you guys are trying to record audio related stuff, and this is kind of random. I bet you guys didn't really see this one coming, but Play-Doh. I know like most of you guys would be thinking like, oh, what am I going to do with Play-Doh? But you know, you can actually use Play-Doh to mold it as like a stand for your phones whenever you guys are recording stuff. So that's just those are just a couple things that you can get. You also get I Am merch. Give me a sec. Let me find it. Well, obviously you guys see me wearing the Reimagine shirt, but it comes with an Aya bag as well, and then the Aya face mask. It comes with a couple of wristbands stuff. But you know me, I don't really be wearing wristbands. Like that's just me personally. But you know, yeah, honestly, so I don't know if you want to add anything to it, but I feel like I've gone through it pretty fast and simple. But my beloved community, the project, the guidelines, the internship. Please continue to attend these programs and continue to dive deeper and invest yourselves into infrastructure, because you know there's a paid internship waiting for you guys. You know, they're minimum 2. Think about it. If no one applies and you're the only person who applies, that's an internship. So you know there's a bag waiting for you. That I know Dr. Scott didn't really talk about that, but there is a bag waiting for you guys in the infrastructure industry, and I can vouch on that personally. But yeah, just as you guys continue to attend these sessions and these programs, and honestly, even if we never see you guys again, if you never attend any of these programs, all we ask is that you just continue to reflect on the infrastructure around you, because you know, I personally wouldn't be thinking about it, but you know, something as simple as my refrigerator, that's an aspect of infrastructure. And transportation, the buses, the trains that I go on every single day, where I get my water from, the water that comes from my fridge, the sewer system, so much of that wastewater, it's all infrastructure. And, you know, infrastructure is a very, very overlooked part of the world right now. But, you know, we need infrastructure to progress this country, and they need us just as much as we need them. So, you know, shout out to all the young people. I'm talking to all the young people. I'm talking to you directly, who's laughing at the screen out thinking, oh, wait a minute, he's not talking to me. Yeah, I'm talking to you. I see you. So, you know, get off your phone, listen to me. I'm talking to you guys right now. The infrastructure world, we need you guys. And thank you. You'll see more of me tomorrow as well as next week. Shout out to Professor Castro as well, Dr. Scott, the whole SVVC team. Silali, I don't know if you want to add anything, but I feel like I tried my best to wrap this up. I know we're a bit over time, so I'm sorry. I try to force everything in there, so you know, fine.
And the one that's up tomorrow night is HDR. We were going to play a little video of theirs, but we'll let them do their video tomorrow. But HDR, the HDR Inland Empire team is going to be the one that is up tomorrow. And we hope that you will join us at 3 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.